Ooh. Did he catch him in a lie? Oh, no. Say it ain't so. They're consulting Letecia. Huddle, team huddle, Satan huddle. Even demons got a plan and shit, you know what I'm saying? What is up, iCkEdMeL? And crazy moments today that happened in the Letecia Stauch trial. Drama, fighting, the judge had to interject. It became a huge mess and it revolved around this situation, which I'm going to show you the clips in context so you understand, because I think it flew over some people's heads. But you have to watch this entire video. Basically, the prosecution calls in this doctor. This doctor had spoken to Letecia on multiple occasions, just paraphrasing. And the specific point or highlight that I'm making in this video is when this doctor informed Letecia that Gannon Stauch, his body was found. She says at some point that Letecia's response was that I'd never been to Florida. The doctor said, I didn't say Gannon was found in Florida. Then she says at some point that Letecia's response was that he was found in Florida. So the whole thing is well, how did she know if supposedly, this is more evidence that she discarded Gannon in Florida? How would she know and all this stuff? So then the defense comes in, okay, when it's their time for cross. And the defense is like, well, what if we told you that, they're talking to the doctor, that we were there the day that you had that conversation with Letecia about what Gannon was found? We were there before you even talked to her that same day. And the words that they used, listen to the verbiage that they used. To me, they imply that they were physically there. And they were like, would you have known if we were there? And she was kind of like, I guess I wouldn't know. I'm not really sure. The judge at some point kind of interjected. He kind of gave them the alley-oop and made him rephrase it. Anyway, they got the point in that they insinuated that they were there that day. And it was like, okay, well, open and shut. So they had told Letecia that Gannon was found in Florida. Then the rebuttal comes. And I got all this clipped. And the prosecution's like, well, we got the visitor logs. And the defense like, what? No. Bro, they were convulsing. In my head, they're probably not literally convulsing, but they're consulting with Team Satan or Letecia. And my thing with this too, because, well, let me stay here in order here. They bring the visitor logs and they show that, to me, it looks like these people were lying. Oh, it's so bad. So bad. And then at the very, very end of the trial, towards the end of the day, the defense tries to come back and say, well, it's, the virus stuff going on. And they're claiming there was a WebEx thing and that log wouldn't have had a WebEx thing. I don't know why they wouldn't say it in the first place, but if you listen to how they implied it the first time, they implied they physically went there. So everything, my commentary in this video is allegedly. It's just my thoughts. I don't know that they're lying for sure. I was in the moment on a live stream. It seems like they're being deceitful, but who knows? Let's see if they actually bring that person to testify, the attorney that was on that WebEx. Your information is being sold by data brokers all the time. It's easy for anybody to look up your information using people search websites. They can find your home address, date of birth, email address, phone number. Dataseal.io is the data removal and monitoring service I trust to remove my information from the internet. Click the link below and use the code 5OFFALL to save 5% off your Dataseal subscription.
Let's jump to March 20th of 2020. Do you recall seeing her on that date?
Yes.
And I see a note on that day at 6:27 p.m. It says reason for referral, subject findings. Do you see that?
Yes.
Tell us about that. Why did you put that note in there, and what is that note about?
So the deputies had asked me to follow up with her because that was the day that we were informed that Gannon's body was found in Florida. And so they wanted me to check in with her because that is a significant event in anybody's life. And so they wanted me to check in and follow up with her.
Were you, as far as you know, the first person to tell her that Gannon's body was discovered?
I believe so.
And how did she respond when you told her?
She was a bit tearful, a little bit overwhelmed at that time.
What did she say?
She had noted that she did not have anyone to talk to in the jail. She had wanted to call her mother, and she was talking also about losing some time out of her cell previously that week. So she essentially was asking to call her mom.
Okay. Did you tell her that you were there for her if she wanted to talk and provide mental health counseling?
Yes. So
Go ahead.
Again, in this situation, given the charges that she was booked into the jail for, I didn't want to talk to her about the charges, but her being a stepmother and losing a child, I wanted to assess her for grief and see if she was okay in that situation. So I did try to explain to her, I don't want to talk about the charges related to that. Just make sure you're okay, as a grieving stepmom.
Did you tell her where Gannon's body was found?
No.
If you can refer to your note, did she tell you where Gannon's body was found?
She said that she was never in Florida and said that that's where his body was found.
So I'm sorry, but just so I'm clear, did you tell her that Gannon's body was found? Did she respond, Gannon's body was found in Florida?
Yes.
Or how did that go?
So I would have gone up to her and just let her know that his body, that obviously that he had passed, because previous to that he was alleged to be missing. So now that he was confirmed to have not been alive, I don't believe that I said that he was in Florida.
And did she tell you whether or not she had even ever been to Florida?
Yes, she said that she was never in Florida.
Well, get petty.
So you spent some time talking about you and Mr. Young about the day, I think it was March 20th of 2020. That was when you discussed the issue of Gannon's body being found. Is that correct? Do you remember that discussion?
Yes.
And Mr. Young asked you, do you remember what she said? And you said, yeah, Gannon's body was found in Florida, and she said she'd never been to Florida and all this other thing. And he asked you, why was that significant?
Mm-hmm.
Why was it significant in your conversation with Letecia? Why was it significant that she said she'd never been to Florida?
Because that's where his body was found.
Why is that significant?
Well, I'm not sure what you're asking in that sense, but typically somebody with dissociative identity disorder would not be able to, they would have kind of amnesia of certain events. And so it was odd to me that if she was not there, why she would spontaneously say she wasn't there.
Okay. And if she didn't have anything to do with Gannon's disappearance, how would she know he was found in Florida?
Correct.
That's the significance?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know that her attorneys earlier that day had been to visit her?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but if that
And
was
they had
proven-
actually told her that Gannon's body had been found?
Sustained. Jury will disregard.
Why?
The conversation you had with her on March 20th of 2020 about Gannon's body being found. Do you remember counsel asking you questions about that?
Yes.
He asked you a hypothetical about if the attorneys came in and told her about it, then she would have known about it before you talked to her. Do you remember that line of questioning?
Yes.
Does the jail keep track when attorneys visit the jail?
Yes.
And do you have a log of every time the attorneys make a professional visit?
The jail would. I do not.
Have you seen those logs before?
I don't think so.
May I approach her?
You're the witness.
Ooh.
The witness.
I'd like to see what he's...
Yo, nah, you don't need to see it.
That's
Don't worry. Bring the logs up. I know they got to see it. Ooh. Did they catch him in a lie? Oh, no. Say it ain't so. This is a L if they got the logs for that day.
Approach witness.
You may, go ahead.
Ooh. Huge L. If this is it, yo, huge L.
Recognize that document.
Yes, it's the visitation log report.
And is it the visitation log reports for Ms. Stauch
Yes.
at the El Paso County Jail?
Is hearsay.
Nah.
Can't testify to
Nah,
what
don't
that
get
is.
pissed
If
off.
they want to get somebody that can lay a proper foundation for this document, that's fine. This is not the person to do that.
Well, she may be, she may not be. I don't know that. You need to ask her whether or not it's a business record and whether she can lay the foundation for a business record.
You recognize this document as a business record?
Yes.
Surprise question, right? Is this something that's routinely kept at the jail and is actually an open record for the public?
Yes.
And is this a business record with regards to professional visits of Ms. Stauch?
Yes.
And would this reflect any professional visits by her
Amen.
attorneys in the time frame we're talking about, March 20th?
Your Honor, I'm objecting
Yes.
under Crawford. This is hearsay.
They're so mad. They're so mad.
Document where the person-
Your Honor, he brought this up.
You
Stop,
brought it
both of
up.
I have an objection. If I want a response, I'll ask for one.
Ooh.
The objection's overruled. Right now, we're working on laying a business record exception to the hearsay rule. So let's deal with that first. It hasn't been asked to be offered to be admitted yet, but I understand what we're dealing with. It's been identified for the record. Go ahead and move it.
And Your Honor, you advised Mr. Young to not taunt me in open court. It's actually the person who brought this up originally, so yelling across the courtroom, I don't appreciate, and I don't think it's professional.
He's lost it.
Well, let's make sure we're all on the same page. I make the rulings. Everybody directs their comments to me. If there's an objection, I'll ask for a grounds. I'll rule on the objection. We'll move on. So everybody, both sides, direct your comments to me. And we'll leave it at that. Mr. Young, you were in the midst of making or establishing a foundation for a business record. Go ahead.
So this is what you purported it to be, the jail logs for professional visits at that time frame when Ms. Stauch told you that Gannon was found in Florida. You remember that?
Yes.
And would this indicate to you whether or not her attorneys had access to her prior to Gannon's body being found and prior to you talking to her about Gannon's body being found?
They did not.
Does it tell you when the last professional visit was prior to that contact?
March 13th of 2020.
And when was the next visit after your conversation with her on March 2020?
April 9th, 2020.
So they lied. Right? They lied. They lied.
In addition to what we just talked about,
Big
what was her
L.
demeanor like when she was telling you that Gannon's body was found in Florida?
She was a bit tearful, but again, also kind of asking about or focusing on other.
Been asked and answered.
Huge
Ruled it was covered in
fucking L.
cross-examination as proper redirect.
Liars,
Please
manipulators.
continue. What was her demeanor
L.
like as she's telling you these?
Do any of the jurors have any questions for
I'm
Dr.
clipping
Miller?
that. For the people that missed that, I guess I'm going to have
Looks
to do
like we have
overtime
one.
tonight.
Your Honor, very quickly,
You
I'd
guys-
like to, based on a new document that was introduced, correct.
Counsel approach.
You want to strike that shit. They took such a big L. How did anybody miss that? They took a huge effing L. Maybe you guys weren't paying attention or some people walked away. They were implying. I don't even know if I have time to explain it right now. We have to wait till they stop or at the end of the day to really explain it. Huge fucking L. If they had any kind of credibility, if they had any, to me, you manipulated the jury and the court into thinking that those attorneys came in that day before they spoke to this lady here and told them that Gannon's body was in Florida. So when this lady spoke to Letecia, it was like Gannon's body was found, and she's like, oh yeah, he was found in Florida. They were trying to say, oh, she knew that because they told her. They went and pulled the papers, the prosecution, and they were like, it's right here. Where are they on the list? Bro? Huge effing liars. To me, if I'm in that jury thing, I don't believe shit. Anything else these motherfuckers say, you're done. X'd out. If there was any kind of ounce that they believe anything, I'm not believing anything you say at all. It's a wrap. Wrap. Why do you think these attorneys and defense guys were so upset and fidgeting? Oh no, Judge, tell him not to shout at me. No, he was shouting at me. You didn't see that? The defense guy, Will Cook? Don't shout at me. They were doing anything to try to stop that letter from being shown because they came with the receipts, the prosecution. Huge L. I think that's the biggest L in this whole thing. I mean, they were kind of reaching with the thing. Huge L. Huge. Just me as a person, you're trying to convince me that this chick, you're done. Done. The defense was so upset that the judge had to lay the hammer down. Like, what? Look at the judge's face right now. Wow. And then it's like the attorneys are getting advice from Letecia. It almost seemed like they're consulting her and shit. I'm like, what is going on here? Yo.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The person that's claiming she's insane, they're getting consultation from.
So March the 20th of 2020, everything in the city and the country and the state went into lockdown because of COVID. Do you remember that?
COVID again? Come on, bro.
I don't know if it was that exact date, but yeah.
Okay. Do you remember that a lockdown went into effect in the jail and there were no personal visits for a period of time because of the COVID pandemic at the jail?
I don't recall any specific thing about that. Is that like, could that have happened? Yes, but I don't know exactly what dates that would have been.
And do you know that jail log does not reflect WebEx or video visits between attorneys and clients? Were you aware of that?
It just says visitation log,
Okay.
so.
If I told you that was for in-person visits only, would that change your
I'm
answer?
going to object, Your Honor. That's my recommendation.
Sustained.
Okay. Do you know that there were WebEx visits or video visits going on between attorneys and defendants incarcerated at the jail during this pandemic period?
If you're asking if that occurs, I believe it would.
Okay. And were you aware that the document you're looking at only shows in-person visits where somebody
they're
comes
coming back?
physically down to the jail and does a visit at the jail and does not reflect any WebEx or video visits?
I couldn't say one way or the other.
Okay. So you can't say one way or the other whether there was a video visit done on March the 20th between Ms. Stauch and her attorneys.
That's an answer, John.
Sustained.
I'm going to add one more bonus clip, but if you haven't seen my live stream today, or if you're watching this tomorrow, if you haven't seen the day 14 trial, check out at least the end half, because I give some commentary. There's some pretty crazy, funny moments. Will Cook, the defense attorney, he gets snappy. But anyway, there is one part where I think I thought he did a good job at least contesting this point. I'll put the clips in here where the prosecution talks about that Letecia is being monitored all the time, and there's this constant surveillance every couple minutes, blah, 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 blah. And then the defense attorney counters that on the cross, and he's like, oh yeah, so you guys see everything? You guys watch everything? You guys really watch everything, huh? He brings up this incident where it's like, so how about that person that was found that hung themselves? Huh? Right? And when they were found, their body was cold. So implying that they must have been there for hours. How are they being watched all these couple of minutes? Are you guys really watching everything? You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was a good, at least, point of contention. No, it's not going to save Letecia. Check it out.
Do you know whether or not the jail would monitor her, especially in the beginning, March 5th, 2020, every few minutes to make sure she's doing okay?
They do. When people are in restrictive housing or in the medical ward, and initially she was placed in the medical ward due to the high profile status, some concerns for her safety. So anybody in restrictive housing is assessed by the deputies on the ward every 15 minutes.
Majority of the time, Miss Stauch is locked in a jail cell for 23 hours.
Yes.
And you weren't able to observe what she was doing for those 23 hours a day.
The deputies would observe that and write reports.
Okay. But there's not somebody watching her those 23 hours while she's in the jail cell. I mean, she could be eating her own feces in the jail cell and nobody would know.
So two things with that. There's 15-minute checks, as well as the camera system in the wards. You can typically see through the windows in the cells. So in essence, there is 24-hour observation.
You just said no, that's
you might
not
not
true.
be able to see everything, but
You said no.
So during your time working, speaking of these every 15-minute checks in these wards, somebody was found hanging cold from one of their cells, and the 15-minute check had been missed while you were there. Do you remember that?
Objection, your relevance.
Overruled.
yes.
Okay, so mistakes were made during this every 15-minute check for somebody to have hung themselves and been missed several checks, so much so that when they took the body down, it was cold.
Oh!
It could happen, yes.
Okay.
Okay, getting spicy a little bit, Will.
Also, there's a lot that could have been missed with what Ms. Stauch was doing the 23 hours when she was locked down in her cell, correct?
Yes.
Damn. Okay, we brought a little heat. All right. I gotta head out. I barely had time to put this video together, but please hit a like, subscribe, turn on the bell with notifications. We will be back here tomorrow, either morning or afternoon, depending on the weather status over there. So I'll put the link down below for that. Check out my sponsor, Data Seal, a service that I use to protect myself from the crazies online. People can find your addresses with something as simple as your phone number, your email. They can also find your family's addresses. You see these crazy people online doxing people all the time. So check them out. Take care. Peace. Love you guys. And bye. And let me know. Do you think the defense was being deceitful, or do you think they're onto something with the WebEx? Listen to the verbiage. Scroll back if you haven't listened to it again. I feel they imply that they were physically there. Take care.